So, what happened after the Big Bang? To answer that, we must travel back to the very first moment, 13.8 billion years ago, when time itself began. Before that instant, there was no before in the way we understand it. No Earth, no sun, not even the concept of space to hold them. All of existence, all energy, all matter, all laws of physics, a single point of unimaginable density and heat. And then, in less than a trillionth of a second, that point expanded. Not an explosion inside space, but the birth of space itself. Temperatures soared to billions of degrees. Matter couldn't even form yet. The universe was nothing but raw energy. In the first fractions of a second, this energy condensed into the most basic particles: quarks, electrons, neutrinos. Quarks combined into protons and neutrons. Within minutes, these protons and neutrons fused into the first atomic nuclei: hydrogen, helium, and traces of lithium. This was the universe's first chemistry. But the newborn universe was still a blinding fog. Photons, particles of light, were constantly scattered by the dense plasma. For 380,000 years, light couldn't travel far. Until finally, the universe cooled enough for electrons to bind to nuclei, forming neutral atoms. The fog lifted. For the first time, light streamed freely through space. We can still detect that light today, a faint afterglow known as the cosmic microwave background, the oldest photograph of the universe. From here, the stage was set for everything to come. Over the next few 100 million years, gravity began to gather matter into massive clouds. Those clouds collapsed into the first stars, giants far more massive than our sun, burning fiercely and living briefly. Inside their cores, hydrogen fused into helium, then into heavier elements. When these stars died in titanic explosions, they scattered those elements across the cosmos: carbon, oxygen, iron, the ingredients for planets and life. Galaxies emerged: spirals, ellipses, clusters of hundreds of billions of stars. One of them, the Milky Way, began to take shape about 13.6 billion years ago. According to many religions, this moment of cosmic order was not random. In Christianity, God made the stars also, on the fourth day, placing them in the heavens to give light upon the earth. In Islam, the Quran describes the heavens and the earth as once being a single entity before Allah, split them asunder. Hindu scriptures speak of Brahma awakening from a cosmic night to create the worlds, while ancient Egyptian belief describes the god Atum rising from the waters of chaos to form the universe. Different cultures, different names, but a shared sense that the birth of the cosmos was an act of divine will. Billions of years passed. Stars lived, died, and were born again. And in one quiet corner of the Milky Way, 4.6 billion years ago, a cloud of gas and dust began to collapse. At its center, nuclear fusion ignited. Our sun came to life. Around it, leftover dust swirled into rings, clumping together into planets, moons, and asteroids. One of those planets was small, rocky, and the perfect distance from the sun for liquid water: Earth. At first, Earth was a hellscape. Molten rock boiled on the surface. Asteroids rained down in an endless bombardment. Then came a collision that changed everything. A Mars-sized object slammed into the young Earth, ejecting molten debris that eventually coalesced into the moon. Over time, Earth's surface cooled. Rain fell, oceans formed, and somewhere in those oceans, around 3.8 billion years ago, lifeless chemistry became biology. Molecules began to self-replicate, the first step toward life. Scientists debate how: lightning striking a primordial soup, deep-sea hydrothermal vents providing the perfect mix of heat and minerals, or even life seeded from space by meteorites carrying amino acids. Religious traditions have their own explanations for this moment. In Genesis, God forms man from the dust of the ground and breathes into him the breath of life. In the Quran, Allah creates every living thing from water. Hindu texts speak of the god Vishnu, giving rise to all life from the cosmic ocean. Across the world, creation stories tie life's beginning to a deliberate act, a design, a purpose. For over 3 billion years, life on Earth was microscopic. Bacteria, archaea, single-celled organisms quietly transformed the planet. Through photosynthesis, they released oxygen into the atmosphere, a poison to most early life, but the foundation for the world we know today. Then, around 600 million years ago, life got bigger. Complex multicellular organisms emerged. In the Cambrian explosion, 541 million years ago, evolution surged forward. Trilobites, worms, spiny predators, and countless forms we've never seen before. Fish swam the seas, then crawled onto land as amphibians. Some became reptiles. Reptiles gave rise to dinosaurs, birds, and mammals. The continents shifted, climates changed, forests spread and vanished. And then, 66 million years ago, a catastrophe. An asteroid 6 miles wide slammed into what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The impact was equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs. Tsunamis tore across oceans. The sky filled with dust, blocking sunlight for years. Plants died, food chains collapsed, and 75% of all species, including the dinosaurs, vanished. In the shadow of that disaster, mammals thrived. They diversified, from tiny shrews to massive mammoths. Primates evolved, developing grasping hands, keen eyesight, and larger brains. Some left the trees, walking upright on 2 legs. By 2.5 million years ago, the first humans, Homo habilis, appeared in Africa. They made stone tools, scavenged meat, and began the slow journey toward civilization. By 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, our species, had arrived. Religious traditions again weave their perspective here. The Bible describes Adam and Eve as the first humans, placed in the Garden of Eden. Islamic belief similarly describes Allah, creating Adam from clay, breathing into him his spirit. Many Native American traditions tell of humans emerging from the earth, sky, or sea, guided by divine beings. Whether through evolution, divine creation, or some combination of the two, humanity had entered the stage. From stardust forged in the hearts of ancient suns, life had risen. From microscopic cells, the line of life had grown to encompass oceans, forests, and now, creatures who could look at the stars and ask, where did we come from? The answer, so far, spans 13.8 billion years. And in that vastness, everything we are, every thought, every dream, every breath, is the latest chapter in a story still being written. When the first stars ignited in the early universe, the darkness that had stretched for hundreds of millions of years was finally broken. This era, known as the Cosmic Dawn, transformed the universe from a cold sea of hydrogen and helium into a theater of light and energy. Without these first stars living and dying in supernova explosions, planets like Earth could never have existed. Around 4.6 billion years ago, in a quiet arm of the Milky Way, one such star, our Sun, was born. It was surrounded by a swirling disk of gas, dust, and icy debris. Over millions of years, gravity sculpted this disk into the familiar arrangement of planets, moons, and asteroids we know today. Earth, forming in the Sun's habitable zone, became a molten sphere bombarded by asteroids and comets. These impacts were destructive, but they also carried water and organic compounds. According to religious traditions, this was no accident. In the Abrahamic faiths, it is described as the moment when God shaped the earth in 6 days, a poetic way to mark the ordered creation of land, seas, and sky. Hindu cosmology speaks of Brahma's Day, where creation unfolds in cycles, with Earth emerging as one of countless worlds. The ancient Egyptians believed the Earth rose from a primeval ocean called Nun, guided by divine will. Whether through divine orchestration or natural cosmic law, the stage was set for life to begin. By 3.8 billion years ago, the first primitive life appeared in Earth's oceans. single-celled organisms that consume sunlight or chemical energy from deep-sea vents. For the next 2 billion years, life remained microscopic. The atmosphere slowly filled with oxygen, thanks to cyanobacteria. This was the Great Oxidation Event, around 24 billion years ago, which made Earth habitable for more complex creatures, but also caused a mass extinction of early anaerobic life. Then came the Cambrian explosion about 541 million years ago, an evolutionary leap where life diversified at an unprecedented rate. Seas filled with trilobites, strange armored fish, and the first early vertebrates. Plants colonized the land around 470 million years ago, followed by insects, amphibians, and reptiles. Giant dinosaurs ruled for over 165 million years, until an asteroid, 66 million years ago, ended their reign and paved the way for mammals. Among these mammals, small primates emerged, agile, intelligent, and curious. Around 6-7 million years ago, the first hominins, human ancestors, appeared in Africa. They walked upright, freeing their hands for tools. Over millions of years, species like Australopithecus gave way to Homo habilis, handy man, then Homo erectus, who learned to control fire and migrate out of Africa. Fire was more than warmth and light. It was a turning point. Religions later viewed fire as a divine gift in Greek myth, stolen from the gods by Prometheus in Zoroastrianism as a sacred element representing truth and purity. By 300,000 years ago, anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, appeared. They developed complex language, art, and social structures. Around 70,000 years ago, something extraordinary happened, a cognitive revolution. Humans began creating symbolic art, burying their dead with ritual, and forming myths to explain the world. These were not just survival behaviors. They were signs of culture, belief, and a sense of destiny. Religions describe this awakening differently. In the Abrahamic tradition, it aligns with the story of Adam and Eve, humanity gaining knowledge and moral awareness. In Hinduism, it mirrors the awakening of self-conscious beings in the current cycle of creation. In indigenous traditions worldwide, it is often told as a moment when humans were taught by divine beings, animals, or spirits how to live in harmony with nature. The Ice Age that began around 115,000 years ago pushed humans to adapt, migrate, and innovate. They crossed ice bridges into new lands, hunted mammoths, and painted the walls of caves with vivid scenes of animals, hunts, and even celestial events. Some researchers believe these early artworks may encode star maps or astronomical cycles, evidence that even then, humans were looking up, wondering about the heavens. By 12,000 years ago, the last ice age ended. The earth warmed, seas rose, and fertile river valleys appeared. This marked the Neolithic Revolution. Humans began farming, domesticating animals, and building permanent settlements. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, dating back to around 9600 BCE, suggest organized religion may have predated agriculture, with massive stone temples built before cities or writing. Civilizations began to rise in river valleys, Mesopotamia between the Tigris and Euphrates, Egypt along the Nile, the Indus Valley in South Asia, and the Yellow River Basin in China. Each developed writing, law, and monumental architecture, often aligned with celestial bodies. Ancient Sumerians charted the heavens, the Egyptians tracked the flooding of the Nile with the stars, and the Mayans built observatories to predict eclipses. These early cultures all shared one striking trait. They believed their origins were tied to the sky. Some saw their gods dwelling in the heavens. Others believed their ancestors descended from the stars. This universal theme raises a question. Was it simply human imagination? Or did ancient people preserve a truth from deep prehistory, now buried under myth? By the end of this chapter of history, humanity had transformed from scattered tribes into complex societies. They built cities, traded across continents, and began recording history. Yet for all their progress, they never stopped telling stories about where they came from and why. Part 2 ends here, setting the stage for Part 3. where we follow the rise of empires, the birth of religions, and the first contact stories that still puzzle historians today. By 3000 BCE, humanity had entered the Bronze Age, a time of unprecedented innovation. Metal tools, organized armies, and large-scale trade networks connected distant lands. Civilizations flourished in Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China, each creating systems of writing to record history, laws, and astronomical events. In Mesopotamia, the Sumerians developed cuneiform, one of the earliest writing systems. They charted the movements of planets, recorded eclipses, and left behind the Enuma Elish, a creation epic describing gods descending from the heavens to shape the world. The Akkadians that followed told of Anunnaki, deities who came from the sky and imparted knowledge to humanity. Historians see these as myths. Others suggest they are distorted accounts of ancient encounters with beings far more advanced than humans. In Egypt, the Old Kingdom pharaohs began constructing the first true pyramids. Massive stone structures aligned with remarkable precision to the cardinal points and specific stars, especially those in the Orion constellation. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2560 BCE, is still a mystery in many ways. It contains no written plans, yet its base is aligned within 0.067 degrees of true north, an accuracy unmatched until modern instruments. Ancient Egyptian texts describe the pharaohs as sons of Ra, ruling with authority granted by the gods themselves. Farther east, the Indus Valley civilization thrived from 2600–1900 BCE, with cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa showing advanced urban planning, straight roads, sewage systems, and standardized weights. Strangely, their script remains undeciphered, and their origins and sudden disappearance are still debated. Hindu tradition speaks of earlier ages, yugas, in which gods and humans lived side by side, waging wars that sound eerily similar to modern descriptions of aerial combat. The Mahabharata, one of the world's oldest epics, describes Vimanas, flying machines used in battles involving devastating bright weapons and city-destroying fire. In China, the Xia and Shang dynasties laid the foundation for one of the longest continuous civilizations in history. Ancient Chinese legends tell of celestial beings called Tian and Shangdi, sky rulers who sent down knowledge. Even their earliest astronomical records show comets, eclipses, and guest stars, possibly supernovae, documented with meticulous care. As centuries passed, more civilizations emerged. The Olmecs in Mesoamerica, the Mycenaeans in Greece, the Nubians in Africa. Many independently developed megalithic architecture, Stonehenge in Britain, the Moai statues of Easter Island, the giant stone heads of the Olmecs. These monuments often align with solstices, equinoxes, or star positions. How these ancient peoples, separated by oceans and continents, all focused on the skies, is one of history's enduring puzzles. This was also the age when organized religion took root on a global scale. In Mesopotamia, temple complexes became centers of political and spiritual life. In Egypt, pharaohs were divine intermediaries between gods and people. In the Indus Valley, Proto-Hindu practices emphasized cosmic cycles. In China, the mandate of heaven linked the ruler's legitimacy to celestial approval. Between 2000 and 1000 BCE, new religious and philosophical movements emerged. Judaism began with the covenant between God and Abraham, focusing on monotheism and moral law. In India, the Vedic period gave rise to sacred hymns that later formed the foundation of Hinduism. In Persia, Zoroastrianism taught of a cosmic struggle between good and evil, with the final battle deciding humanity's fate. In East Asia, early forms of Taoism and ancestor worship took shape, connecting human destiny with natural harmony. These belief systems all included stories of creation, divine intervention, and apocalyptic visions, and many shared uncanny similarities. Flood myths, for example, appear in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Hebrew Bible, Hindu Puranas, and indigenous American traditions. Could this be coincidence? Or were they all remembering the same ancient catastrophe? Technological leaps also emerged in this era, sometimes faster than expected. The Antikythera mechanism, discovered in a Greek shipwreck dated to around 100 BCE, is a complex gear-driven device capable of predicting eclipses and planetary positions. It's been called the world's first computer. But there's no clear line of technological development leading up to it, as if it appeared centuries before its time. Other anomalies include precise ancient maps, like the Piri Reis map of 1513, compiled from older sources, which seems to depict the coastline of Antarctica without ice, something modern science only confirmed with satellite imaging. In the Americas, the Nazca lines, drawn between 500 BCE and 500 CE, stretch across the Peruvian desert, forming massive figures and geometric shapes visible only from the air. By the turn of the first millennium CE, vast empires dominated the world: Rome, Han China, the Mayans. Roads, aqueducts, and trade routes spanned continents, yet these great powers still looked to the heavens for guidance. Roman augurs interpreted the will of the gods through celestial signs. Chinese astronomers linked imperial fate to comets and eclipses. Mayan priests charted Venus's cycle with stunning accuracy, incorporating it into war planning. Religions spread rapidly. Christianity rose within the Roman Empire. Islam emerged in the 7th century CE, and Buddhism spread across Asia. All emphasized moral codes, spiritual salvation, and the idea that history is moving toward a predetermined climax. In every culture, prophets and sages warned of future events, sometimes with dates, sometimes in cryptic symbols. One thing unites these ancient civilizations: they did not see themselves as separate from the universe. They believed they were part of a larger cosmic order, whether governed by gods, fate, or cycles of time. And they left behind stories, monuments, and artifacts suggesting they may have known more about that order than we give them credit for today. Part 3 closes with a world deeply interconnected through trade, religion, and shared myths, but still facing the unknown. They had risen from humble beginnings to empires of stone and bronze, yet the same questions remained. Where did we come from? Who, or what, shaped our destiny? And what might be coming next? By the dawn of the medieval period, around the 5th century CE, the ancient empires that had once ruled vast territories were in flux. Rome had fallen in the west, ushering in centuries of fragmented kingdoms across Europe. The Byzantine Empire carried the legacy of Rome in the east, while the Islamic caliphates emerged as powerful centers of learning, preserving, and expanding ancient knowledge from Greece, India, and Persia. In China, the Tang and Song dynasties oversaw advances in printing, gunpowder, and navigation. The Mayans in Mesoamerica continued their complex astronomical observations, predicting eclipses and planetary alignments centuries in advance. Africa saw the rise of kingdoms like Mali and Great Zimbabwe, wealthy in trade and culture. Religion was the unifying and often dividing force of this age. The Crusades, fought between 1096 and 1291, were not only battles over holy sites, but also massive cultural exchanges, spreading science, art, and technology across continents. Monasteries in Europe copied and preserved texts from antiquity, while scholars in Baghdad's House of Wisdom translated and expanded upon works in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. During this period, strange events continued to echo the mysteries of earlier ages. In 1178, monks in Canterbury reported seeing the moon split in two, possibly the impact that formed the Giordano Bruno crater. In 1561, the skies over Nuremberg, Germany, reportedly filled with strange flying objects engaging in what witnesses described as a sky battle. Modern historians suggest atmospheric phenomena, but the descriptions eerily resemble aerial combat. The Renaissance 14th–17th centuries reignited curiosity about humanity's place in the cosmos. Galileo's telescope revealed moons orbiting Jupiter, undermining the idea that Earth was the universe's center. Copernicus's heliocentric model, placing the sun at the center, was met with resistance from religious authorities. And yet, the shift had begun. Humanity was reclaiming the knowledge that the ancients may have already suspected. Art from this period occasionally hints at older mysteries. Paintings like the Madonna with Saint Giovanni show strange objects in the sky. Maps from the era, like the Zeno map of 1558, chart lands that explorers claimed not to have visited. The Age of Exploration, 15th-18th centuries, brought the world together physically for the first time. Ships crossed oceans, and civilizations once isolated for millennia met, often with devastating consequences. But along with goods and ideas, stories traveled too. Polynesian navigators spoke of lights in the sea, guiding their voyages. Indigenous tribes in the Americas recounted sky visitors who had come before the strangers with sails. By the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution transformed the pace of change. Steam engines, telegraphs, and railways shrank distances. But with progress came strange discoveries: giant skeletons unearthed in North America, unexplained metal spheres found in coal seams, and artifacts embedded in rock layers millions of years old. Most were dismissed as hoaxes or anomalies. The 20th century accelerated everything. 2 world wars, the splitting of the atom, and the dawn of space exploration put humanity on a new trajectory. But with modern science came modern mysteries. In 1947, the Roswell incident fueled public fascination with UFOs. In the 1960s, astronomers detected the first pulsars, rapidly spinning neutron stars, but at first labeled them LGM for Little Green Men. The Apollo moon landings between 1969 and 1972 raised questions about why we stopped going, with whispers of encounters that NASA kept quiet. During the Cold War, both the US and Soviet Union invested heavily in space-based surveillance, leading to strange leaks, photographs of possible structures on the moon, unexplained objects shadowing spacecraft, and audio recordings of cosmonauts describing voices in orbit. Meanwhile, archaeologists were rewriting history with every dig. Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, dated to around 9600 BCE, predated Stonehenge by 6,000 years, showing that advanced construction and symbolic culture existed long before the rise of agriculture. The discovery challenged the linear model of human progress and reignited debates about lost civilizations. The digital age brought its own revelations. Satellite imaging revealed massive ancient earthworks hidden under forests, possible lost cities beneath the Sahara, and strange geometric patterns on the ocean floor. At the same time, deep space telescopes detected thousands of exoplanets, some in the habitable zones of their stars. Religion adapted, but remained a central narrative force. Prophecies from Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism spoke of an approaching end age or cosmic transformation. While interpretations differ, many predict dramatic celestial events, global upheaval, or the return of a divine figure. And now, in 2025, humanity finds itself at an unprecedented moment. Our technology allows us to see 13 billion years into the past, almost to the Big Bang itself. We've decoded ancient genomes, proving that humans interbred with now extinct species like Neanderthals and Denisovans. We've detected mysterious fast radio bursts from distant galaxies, gravitational waves from colliding black holes, and anomalies in Earth's own magnetic field. Yet the core mysteries remain, the same ones our ancestors faced. Where did we come from? Are we alone? Is history a straight line or a repeating cycle? Looking back from the Big Bang to now, a pattern emerges. Civilizations rise, achieve wonders, then collapse. Often, after a period of great advancement, myths of lost golden ages may not be fiction, but memories of previous peaks in human achievement. The stars that ancient peoples feared and worshipped may be the same ones we now scan for signs of life. Perhaps history has been guiding us, or preparing us for something. Whether that's a scientific breakthrough, a cosmic event, or an encounter that changes our understanding forever, one thing is certain: humanity has always been part of a larger story. And maybe, just maybe, we're about to turn the page to the next chapter.